Hey, welcome to the Go-To Physio podcast. My name is Dave O'Sullivan, and in season 4, it's all about building a go-to clinic that gives you happy patients, happy staff, high profits, and the freedom as a proud Go-To Clinic owner. My aim is to share my mistakes and my successes over the last 15 years working in professional sport and private practice, and ultimately building a go-to clinic that's given me the freedom to travel all around the world. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, welcome to season 4, episode 1 of the Go-To Physio podcast. And this season 4, is all about building a go-to clinic that gives you happy patients, happy staff, high profit, and most importantly, freedom for you as the clinic owner. Now, again, that's probably the dream outcome for the vast majority of us, but it's very much possible. And I'm delighted to have this season joining me, Paddy Mulligan, who's our head business coach in the Go-To Clinic Business Mentorship Program. Paddy, thank you for joining us this season and agreeing to join us. And before I get you to introduce yourself, Paddy, one of the big reasons that I got Paddy involved is Paddy is a chartered physiotherapist. He's a clinic owner. He owns multiple clinics, which he'll tell you about in a second. But most importantly is Paddy is in the trenches on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's really, really important in this day and age where there's so many people out there selling you the dream on social media and all of the theory. That all sounds really good. But the ability to take that theory and implement it practically in your clinic, that is the art of it. Just like in the clinical side of it, all the knowledge is good, but unless we can apply it, it's essentially useless. So Paddy, thank you for joining us. Do you want to just give a quick introduction to yourself, your background, etc. as well?
Cheers, Dave. Thanks for asking me on. Obviously, look, my background in chartered physio, qualified 2007, I think it was. I think we first crossed paths in rugby league. So I worked in rugby league back in the day. Then when I left sport, I actually set up clinics in the UK, in the Northwest, Liverpool across to Manchester. And I actually sold the clinics in January 2020, which in retrospect was a great move. Didn't know what was coming around the corner 2 months later. So myself and my wife, who's also a chartered physio, who was working in Liverpool, we moved back to Ireland, and we'd actually moved back in 2018. So we set up our first clinic on the 4th of July, 2018. So we're 6 years old as of last week. And we now have 3 clinics. We've got 15 full-time team members. So across the 3 clinics, we have obviously grown a chartered physio team, a podiatry team, an admin team, and we have a marketing lead person as well. So we've gone from the single practitioner working all the hours in the world to bringing on that first admin team member, to making our first clinical hire, to making lots of mistakes along the way, Dave, lots of mistakes. And the phase we're at the moment now is I've been through this kind of head physio leading the team. I've now brought in someone to replace me in that role. I'm moving towards more of a kind of overarching role. And our current processor for this year, it's about processes, people, and performance. So from our performance side of it, we're looking to improve the spaces and the facilities we're in to implement some of that mid to late stage rehab. So we're currently knocked down actually one of our clinics and are rebuilding it as a performance space. So I might chat a little bit more about that. But that's our journey thus far. And obviously working with yourself and obviously being leading the mastermind business side of things, the mentorship principles, actually conveniently behind me for people who are listening, we have an effective explanation of but the mentorship principles underpin everything that we do in the clinics, and has been fundamental to the training of the clinicians. And it for me, I've got a huge range of clinicians from really experienced to new grads, and it helps to create a level playing field for them to have discussions over. So that's our background, that's where we're at.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I think, the skills, the experiences that you've been exposed to there, Paddy, selling clinics. I know you've acquired clinics, and that was one of the big things I was really keen to get you on board with our Go-To Clinic program, was the fact that my own background is 1 clinic, 6 therapists, 4 admin staff, plus a lot of staff on the online side. Growing 1 clinic, to a point, but for yourself then to offer a different side of it in terms of multiple clinics, buying, selling and stuff like that. And, I wanted to have a very well-rounded program essentially, so that there was coaches in the program that ultimately have real world experience, as opposed to, just business coaches that haven't actually been out there and done it. And I think you've got an amazing amount of experience. And I think you complement my skill sets really well as well. So it is really great to have you on board. So what I want to do today in this episode is, obviously, I'm in our new premises. This season is called Building the Go-To Clinic, and it's going to very much follow my journey in terms of literally moving my clinic down into this premises. I bought this premises last October. It's July now at the time of recording this. This year has never been as stressful in terms of cash flow, putting myself under pressure, because we bought the clinic probably a year too early, but there was just an opportunity that we couldn't turn down, and really underpins what we want to talk about in this episode, which is the 3 hidden traps that pretty much almost derailed my clinic purchase. Because they say, oh, you can have luck, but what's the phrase that they say about luck is just when preparation meets, is it opportunity or something like that? And when this clinic came up, there was cash in the bank. I had my affairs in order. I was ready to go. And the first thing that I want to talk to therapists about is the importance of, and it sounds hairy-fairy and fluffy, but it's actually critically important, and that's the importance of having a vision. Now, when you go into most programs, they'll tell you, yeah, you need a vivid vision and all of that, but actually the vivid vision, which we're going to cover in a separate episode, is actually something that's really important for you as the clinic owner in the mindset, but also for your hiring and your retention of staff as well, which we'll talk a lot about in the coming episodes. But I just want to share, before we get into the 3 big mistakes that I almost made, I'm just sharing here on screen. So if you're on YouTube and you're watching the podcast, or if you're listening to it, what I'm sharing now is my Vivid Vision document. Okay, now this is the document for 2027, and this was actually written, the first draft of this was written in 2020. Okay, and then it's continually updating. So for 2027, I'm just going to read here the first line. Okay, the year is 2027. We are in Pro Sport's own facility. It has 5 spacious treatment rooms, a yoga studio, and a spacious gym. The building is clean, tidy, with natural light in each room. There are offices upstairs and a fully sized professional recording studio upstairs. And then I go on to talk about the clinics, the Go-To private practice. We've got a reputation for helping people who fail traditional approaches. We receive national coverage. People travel all over the world to see us, including professional athletes. Our therapists are the best of the best, calm, confident, trusted A players. And then I go on to talk a bit about the academy. Now, why I'm sharing that is having a clear vision is absolutely critical. So when this building came up, this building, it literally has 5 treatment rooms. There are really high ceilings. There's loads of natural light. There's a yoga studio downstairs that was already there. Upstairs on the 4th floor is where the academy team will go now. Okay, so literally every single thing in that vision, this building was here waiting for me. And I think that's really important, to really have a clear vision of where you're going. Okay, and whether it's the reticular activating system and you're setting that, or whatever it is, the importance of having a clear vision is absolutely critical. And I see far too many clinic owners where they're just working day to day, but they don't actually know what the end goal is. So, Paddy, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think, Dave, it sounds so simple, putting down your vision, but something we talked about before is it's extracting it from that subconscious mind, or having it there and bringing it to the forefront of our mind. So when you're speaking, I was just thinking about a couple of things that our vision has helped, even in the last month with myself. So hiring, it's incredibly difficult to hire at the moment. It's an absolute, I don't know what the protocol here is for cursing in this podcast, Dave, but it's not easy, and we need to differentiate ourselves from other clinics. So we're highlighting that vision. Like, I've been in Post Sport House, it's incredible. You walk in and go, boom, this is top class. But by giving someone who's in front of you, it's flipped almost. We're now almost selling our vision to the potential employee. So it gets them excited. It helps you with retention of your team members. So it helps you to go, okay, here's where we're going. Are you on board? Are you on track? And it helps to motivate them. It also helps with the difficult decision making. So if it comes to, are you on the bus, are you off the bus? Is this in line with our vision? Are you the right person to bring us forward? So there's loads of things that it helps with, not just helping us as business owners who have so many things going around. But if an opportunity arises, often we can say, look, that is in line or it's not in line with where I want to go on my vision. And I have to make a difficult decision one way or the other. So I think that's the kind of practicalities of it. And it's something that we pride ourselves on working towards and doing our best to achieve. And there's a huge sense of satisfaction when you're working towards that, because we know success is as much about the journey as the outcome. But yeah, I think it's a fundamental pillar for any clinic owner. So if you don't have one, it's worth, even if it's a one-page simple document to start.
Absolutely. And it helps you make decisions. And a lot of the time you're going to have to say no to stuff also, which can be difficult because you think, oh, this is a great opportunity. But if it's taking you away from the vision of where you're going, then ultimately it's not for you. And I was talking about this in our group coaching call in our Go-To Clinic Mastermind on Wednesday with the therapists. And there's a key part of the interview process where up to a certain point, the candidate is selling you on why you should choose them. But then when you get a good candidate, there's a flick and there's the tables turn where you then have to sell the candidate on why they should come and work for you. And that vision document is one of the most important things. And I've got staff members come to me for less money, where when I offer them the job, I also send them the vision document and go, this is where we're going. And I've had one person in particular go, I read the vision document and I want to be part of that. And they actually, because someone else wanted them as well, and they chose us. But I think that's probably for another day in terms of the power of the vision document. And we'll do a whole podcast on that. But how I want to bring that into today's discussion and the 3 hidden traps is that vision document. Everything that I've done up to now has been very intentional. And the 3 hidden traps that almost derailed my clinic purchase, if I didn't have this vision document here, then there's a high chance that I wouldn't be sitting in here today with a building that we got a really great deal on it. It's a massive investment for me. It's something that I leave my kids. You know, I'm not giving my landlord 20 odd grand a year now for the next 5-6 years. I'm paying off a mortgage, or a bit of a mortgage that we have on the building. That's ultimately then the building will hold value, all being well. And it's something that, you know, when my time's up, I can either pass it on to the kids or, you know, we can sell it essentially. So the 3 hidden traps, all of these things, as I said, the reason that we avoided them was very much because of this vivid vision document, because I knew where I was going and what I needed to do. Now, the first trap when I went to purchase this premises, and Paddy, you'll have some experience of this obviously as well, buying and selling and acquiring clinics, is the importance of having my financial accounts in order for the bank. You will be amazed at the level of scrutiny, obviously, that the banks will go through and ask you every line on your P&L and your balance sheet. They want to know it. And I'll put my hands up, for the first 5-6 years, my financial accounts were a mess. And I hired my first financial person, and she came in and she nearly ran out the door. And then Steve, who works with us now, obviously in the Go-To Clinic Mastermind program, has just taken it to the next level. And it's unbelievable, the level of detail now. But it wasn't always that way. And actually, one of the first things that we need to have right is clinical, or whatever your patient management software reporting is. And then also the other big thing that we have to have right and up to date is QuickBooks, or whatever your accounting management software is. So if I didn't have those in order, there's no way I would be sitting here at the moment. And whether you're a solo clinic owner now and you're thinking about eventually going and buying your own premises or something like that, I very much dismissed for the first 5-6 years the importance of having my financials correct. And I know there'll be some people, especially in Ireland, and I can say that probably because I'm Irish, they'll have a lot of money under the mattress and bits and pieces. But when you need to show your accounts to the bank, if you do want to borrow some money, and for me, in terms of cash, there was opportunities to buy the building or to get a mortgage, and it makes more sense for me financially to actually borrow some money when at the current time that I was borrowing it. So just because you might need to borrow, sometimes it makes sense that you actually do want to borrow and you want to use debt in a wise way. So Paddy, any comments on that in terms of the financial accounts, your experiences with having your financials in order and maybe overlooking that earlier in our careers as clinic owners?
It's something for the first couple of years of my clinics in the UK I didn't do as well. I think from recollection, the tax year was April to April. So it was literally the week before you're doing your returns, pulling stuff together, and it's absolute torture. Whereas now we flipped and we pride ourselves on our year now is 1st of Jan to 31st December by the mid-Feb, having all our accounts done. And we recently secured a loan about the last 3 or 4 weeks for another building. But the first thing the bank asked for is give us the last 2 or 3 years sets of all the accounts. So the fact that we had last year's done, and they asked us in our initial piece in February, she was like, okay, well, you're on top of this stuff. So the ability just to give them, it creates the authority piece straight away. And it gives us options. So when you're clear on your financials, your previous year's financials, if you're winning or losing, you can make decisions based on that. But having a simple process, like anything else, allocating some time towards it, I think we're finding, Dave, dealing with lots of clinics in the mastermind, is as healthcare practitioners and physios, there's a blind spot there around finances. We're as therapists, we're intelligent people, we're empathetic, but when it comes to finances, it's like, I'll leave that. So I think it's something that is, again, another key pillar to building a successful clinic, but we can't ignore it. We have to allocate time. We have to have some sort of process in place for monthly allocating time, be it yourself or somebody else. And the only thing I touch on is that ask questions of your accountant. Don't always take their advice, but ask questions. And we've changed accountants because we've moved beyond our previous accountant's skill level, because we're asking bigger and better questions.
Yeah, I think we could have a whole episode on accountants, and I think that's, some accountants have got some people in a lot of trouble, and that's where the financial systems is absolutely important. And the one thing I would say, like every single member in our mastermind program, by the end of January, they knew exactly how much if they kept doing the same things, they know exactly what they were going to earn this year, how much tax they were going to pay if they hit their budgets. And that's absolutely massively important, not only for tax planning, but also to actually help you get clear on actually if you want to do this for that level of reward this year. And the financial systems that need to be in place in a go-to clinic, I've definitely underappreciated the infrastructure involved in making that happen, and standard operating procedures that have to be in place, and how easily it is to mess all of that up. And as I said, something as silly as your admin team putting the wrong thing in clinical can cause a lot of dramas. So having the financial systems is something that I definitely didn't appreciate back in the day when I started out, but it's absolutely non-negotiable. And as the phrase is, accounting is the language of business. And if you want to be a successful business owner, you need to understand the language. And we're going to do a full episode on that anyway ourselves, Paddy, in the coming episodes. But it's absolutely critical that we have these financial skills. So the next big thing that nearly derailed me was cash in the bank and the importance of prioritizing cash flow. Okay, so when I went to buy this building, obviously I needed a deposit as well. Okay, and obviously the healthier your deposit, the better your rates are, and the more willing the bank are to lend you as well. And I think the big thing that I see these days is therapists not understanding the difference between revenue, profits, and ultimately cash. And especially if you're seeing a lot of insurance patients, that's where as well it becomes incredibly important. But also what I would say is a lot of clinics now, and I'm seeing a lot online as well, of all we made 10, 20 grand this week selling packages of care. That's all well and good, but at some point we have to fulfill those packages of care. So that's not that money that you collected now, essentially, that needs to be shown on a credit line because you have to fulfill that. And there's going to be weeks coming in 2, 3 weeks time where you're going to be very busy fulfilling a lot of that money that you made. And that's where we have to understand our cash flow. We have to understand that on those weeks, there may potentially be less cash coming in unless you're constantly having to sell. Having an understanding of all of that, have an understanding of your cash and your profitability, your accounts receivable, all of those things are absolutely critical as well. And I was very fortunate that I had cash in the bank. Even probably Steve and a few others would have questioned me and coaching programs that I done when I showed them my balance sheet. Why are you keeping the cash in the bank? But I know exactly why I had that cash in the bank. Even though, yeah, in theory, for a year or two, I might have been losing a little bit of money, but the opportunity was there to get this building, and I had the cash in the bank, and it was the speed at which I could move. Then ultimately, that's led me to here. So I think having an understanding of your cash flow is another thing. And you probably aren't going to appreciate it as a solo clinic owner at the moment. But as you start to hire staff and you start to hire therapists and admin, that's where having an understanding of cash flow becomes really, really important then. So, Paddy, do you want to add in anything about that?
Yeah, it's interesting on that day. I think, what is it? Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is king. And there's culture is queen, but cash is king. So I think it's about good habits. So financial health. So we have that metric of 2, if not 3 times your monthly operating costs to protect ourselves against the next pandemic, the next thing that's coming around the corner that we haven't even thought of yet. To have that stability of going, okay, it costs me 10 grand a month to run my clinic. If I can siphon away 20, 30K and have that sitting there in a pot, it protects me against if I have to go off ill, if a key team member has to go off ill, if the clinic has to close down and around supports there, but also gives us opportunity. Because we know the most successful clinics and clinic owners have better options available. And if you have that little bit of money sitting there, you can move fast as you did. The other thing about that is it's creating good habits. So we operate profit first. We can debate all day the benefits of doing it or not. I know it's a debate I've had with Steve over this, but it creates good habits for us. So it means that at the start of the month, on the 10th and 25th, we take away a percentage of money, and that's our profit, and that's gone straight away. So that's rewarding ourselves, because too often people come into the clinic, we see it working massive hours, 78 hours. We're not taking a wage for ourselves. We're the least paid in the clinic. We're not taking any profit because we're buying the next thing, doing the next thing. We need to create good habits for ourselves going forward. So that's where we're building up those cash reserves. There will be times, as you did with the building, you go, I'm going to go all in here. But that creates a buffer that gives us security as well. So they're the kind of pieces that we found from our clinic perspective.
Absolutely. And I think just to add to that, we'll be talking about a couple of things in the next couple of episodes. And one of the episodes is the 2 most important numbers that clinic owners need to understand, which again will stop them from doing that. And it's absolutely insanity that you take all of the risk and you're earning less than your staff members. It just doesn't make sense to me to do that. And again, if it's part of a bigger picture, I get that if you want to sell at some point. But for me, it just doesn't make sense. You're the one taking all of the risk. And there's a lot of responsibility for me and yourself, 15 plus people, a wage bill every single month that needs to be hit. And when you have that 2 to 3 months cash in the bank and you do have a bad month or two, the real power of that is it helps you make better quality decisions, because now you're not coming from a place of panic where you're down to your last £5,000-6,000 or whatever. You've actually got space and time. You know that money's in the bank sitting there so that you can actually make better quality decisions about where to go next. And I think that's one of the biggest things.
We can't at the end of the month have a situation where you're literally fretting going, will I have enough to pay myself? Will I have enough to cover this? We need a line of sight. You need to protect yourself from that. Absolutely.
And as you said there, if you are making decisions from that place, there's a high chance you're going to make a wrong decision. You're just going to dig a hole again. And we've seen that ourselves with therapists that we've worked with when they've first started to come into the program. Great. So moving on to the last trap that nearly derailed me, and that is the importance of having actually a growing clinic with undeniable proof on the P&L and balance sheet. So that's really important. Also, the banks certainly will be looking for that the clinic's actually growing. And if you do have a bad year, okay, that significantly, well, my bank anyway, that concerns them. Okay. So you need to be showing that your clinic is continuing to grow. And, I would argue if it's not growing, it's dying essentially. So having the clinic in a place where even organically growing 10-20% growth year on year, that's incredibly important as well, because the bank then is much more likely to lend with confidence essentially. Paddy, anything to add on that one?
No, Dave, I think I'm open, honest with everything as I am in the master. We've got two loans at the moment, one for our first building, one for our second building. And they came through a funded place, and obviously based in the Republic in the south of Ireland. And questions we got asked this time, I've done it the last couple of months, was show us your previous accounts, show us your projections for the next 2 years. What's your uplift going to be? And if you just go make a spreadsheet, just go 20%. Okay, how is that going to come about? Where are you going to hire? How much is the hire going to cost you? So all these things that people who do this every day, like we do therapy, pick it apart and go, how are you going to get that number? That's not realistic.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And that's their language. We're trying to adapt to our language. But the fact that I have the knowledge, I could go back there like, okay, you've explained all that. That's clear. We're happy with where you're going. Because really we're basing it on past evidence, but we're also creating a future projection. And if the bank are comfortable with that, we know that we can get more funding, which will allow us to grow. So, and they want to see growth. Like one of our loans is a future growth loan scheme. So it's basically rewarding companies that can show evidence of future growth.
Steve's law there you talked about. So we've got a law in the Go-To Clinic mastermind program called Steve's Law. And I've made this mistake myself where at the start of the year, you go, we're going to do this much next year. We're going to make this much money. We're going to see this many patients. And Steve's law states that you should only ever be budgeting based on your historical performance, essentially, because that's ultimately what you've proven that you can do. Okay. Whereas I think as clinic owners, we obviously we're optimistic. We go, well, we can do this, this, and this. But and again, this is an episode for another time as well. That is you overestimating what you can do, and having a budget that's not realistic or achievable is the quickest way to demoralize your team's morale and erode your culture in the business. Because what you do then is you develop a culture of losing. And what your budget needs to do is to help you develop a culture of winning where your team hit the budget month on month. And it's a bit like Man United at the moment in football. That culture of losing, it turns into a habit. Whereas we want to create that winning culture and setting your budgets realistically, forecasting realistically. And one of the biggest things that we see when we do the budget with therapists, and we'll be doing them this year, we'll be starting probably October, November, so that by January, every therapist in the mastermind program has their budget to know exactly what they're projected to make. And one of the most interesting things that happen is when we look at the volume of patients that need to be in place in order to hit the budget, and then you look at how many staff you have and how many hours they can work and how many patients they can see. That's all well and good, as you alluded to there, Paddy. But then you take off their annual leave, and you take off bank holidays, and you take off all of those other things, and then you see what you're left with. And we've had it ourselves where there's a lot of clinics that said this is our budget for the year, but actually they didn't have the staff and the resources to actually achieve the budget. So they've set themselves up for failure potentially before we've even started the year. And how many times has that happened? And that's what people like that are seeing, where they go, okay, that's all well and good, those volumes, but who's seeing all these people? And that's where, it has to work on paper first and foremost. Otherwise, you're going to struggle to make it work in the real life, has certainly been my experience. And I'll put my hand up. I was that person who didn't obey Steve's law, and I set the team up for failure by being too ambitious with my budgets in the past.
Well, I think on that, Dave, I think as clinic owners, therapists, we have an entrepreneurial spirit where we have this visionary, it's going to be great, it's going to be okay, we're going to plow on. And then sadly, the realism of some of the elements of successful business is the mundane and understanding numbers and setting targets and working to it. The other piece on that, I know we'll talk about it again, is getting comfortable with the financial conversation ourselves, but also with our team. So we now have an environment where I'm happy for any of our team members to chat about and to look at and discuss our finances. And I think it's a big block for therapists and clinic owners where it becomes almost like, I don't want to share my numbers. What if they think this? What if they think that? So I think we need to flip our mindset a little bit and get comfortable. Yeah, we are going to grow, and that's okay. We might bring somebody else in, but that's an opportunity for you to ascend into a higher role, or it's an opportunity for you to take on more responsibility and you'll be rewarded for that. So it's just flipping that narrative that sometimes we have in our mind around finances and money and conversations with our team or our peers as well.
Yeah, mindset is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Paddy, that's been fantastic. I think that's a wrap for episode 1. So the key points again that we covered in this episode: the importance of having a vision document, so you're super clear on where you're going to go. I'm going to go into that in a lot more detail in future episodes this season. Having our financial system in place, okay, having the infrastructure there, having your financial accounts up to date is absolutely critical. Cash in the bank to allow you to make better quality decisions also. And then the third one is the importance of having a growing clinic with a predicted forecast of where you're going to be in the next 2 to 3 years. And a budget will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you in that regard. And you can actually see it on paper if it can work. Okay, so that's it for this week. If you want to know more about the Go-To Clinic Mastermind Program and our business mentorship, if you head over to thegotophysio.com and you'll be able to check it out there. More than happy to have a conversation with you to see if it's a good fit for you, if it's something that interests you. The ultimate aim of the Go-To Clinic program is to help you build a clinic that gives you happy patients, happy staff, high profits, and freedom. And there is a path that you can take. It is possible, but it just needs some very strategic decisions. And I've done it myself. Paddy's done it as well. And it's very much possible for you too, if you have the right guidance and the right plan, and you have the right tools as well. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you again, Paddy. And I will see you next week, where we're going to be talking about the biggest mistake that causes clinic owners to burn out and earn less money than their own staff. So make sure you tune in for that episode, because that's one that you're definitely not going to want to be making these errors. Okay, that's it for this week. I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, if you'd like a free copy of my Head Physio Systems 6-step checklist that I use to personally audit my own therapists to make sure that they can keep patients progressing even when the pain is eased, so that we can ethically increase our patient numbers, our revenues and referrals, head over to www.thegotophysio.com/checklist and I'll get that sent straight over to you. That's it for this week. I'll see you in next week's show.